It all began with a mystery that no one could ignore. Every year, millions of francs in toll money vanished without a trace. Drivers paid faithfully at toll booths, but the roads never improved. The Ministry of Infrastructure kept releasing numbers that just didn't add up. There were always whispers. Corrupt collectors, forged receipts, missing records. But whispers don't fix potholes. They bury nations in broken trust, so the government flipped the script. It didn't just fire a few staff or tighten oversight. It reimagined the system from the ground up. Under the leadership of President Ibrahim Traoré, Burkina Faso built something no one saw coming: a fully digital, state-of-the-art toll system. And this wasn't just a patchwork of machines. It was a full nervous system of steel, sensors, code, and cameras, all communicating in real time to a central control room. 3 strategic sites were chosen to test the system: Burkina, Tintalou, and Ouagadougou. These weren't random choices. Each was a pressure point in the national road network. Burkina connects rural trade routes to the capital. Tintalou is a key crossroad for regional transporters. Ouagadougou sits near a notorious smuggling zone where cash and cargo often disappear. The logic was simple. If the system could survive these hotspots, it could survive anywhere. And survive it did spectacularly. Within days of activation, delays vanished. Gone were the sleepy attendants fumbling for change. Gone were the arguments over pricing. Instead, drivers rolled up and the system just worked. Receipts were instant. Gates opened automatically. And most importantly, revenue doubled without raising toll prices. For the first time, the numbers made sense. Officials didn't need reports to tell them the system was working. The cash flow said it all. But what makes this project revolutionary isn't just the tech. It's the fact that it was entirely homegrown. No foreign loans. No IMF advisors. No overpriced consultants. The Faso Roadways and Services Bureau (FSRB) led the charge, sourcing materials from regional allies, training local engineers, and building software that reflected Burkina Faso's actual road realities, not imported models from Europe or Asia. This was African infrastructure, built by Africans for Africans. The new toll stations don't carry the logos of foreign donors or international banks. They don't exist as pilot projects or feasibility studies. They're operational. They're expanding. And they send a loud, clear political message. Burkina Faso doesn't need permission slips to modernize. So how does it all work? The moment a vehicle approaches one of these new gates, an invisible system kicks into gear. There's no waving down cars, no shouting fares, just a silent ballet of machines. Sensors activate, data flows. The vehicle is scanned, logged, and processed in real time, often before the driver even realizes they've crossed the threshold. The heart of it all is RFID, radio frequency identification, a technology more often seen in airports and military operations, now retooled to make road travel seamless and incorruptible. Every registered vehicle receives a digital ID, embedded in a windshield tag. As it nears the toll gate, the scanner reads the tag, confirms the vehicle's identity, checks its balance, and verifies exemptions, all in milliseconds. If the system approves, the gate lifts. If not, the car is rerouted to a review lane handled digitally without disputes. But RFID is just the surface. Each station is a miniature control center, outfitted with thermal imaging, license plate recognition, surveillance cameras, and weight sensors. These tools don't just record, they interpret. They detect overloaded trucks, speeding vehicles, or bikes trying to sneak through blind spots. This data is then transmitted in real time to FSRB's Central Command Hub in Ouagadougou, where analysts monitor dashboards that pulse with live alerts and traffic insights. Every transaction generates a unique digital footprint: GPS location, timestamp, vehicle image, and payment status. Daily station reports are automatically compared against expected traffic volume. If numbers don't match up, the system flags it. There's no way to lose money or blame human error. Even in the face of power outages or weak networks, the stations continue running. Solar backups keep the gates working. Local memory caches store data until the connection is restored. Everything is encrypted. Everything is traceable, and no single operator can override the system. Trust isn't placed in individuals anymore. It's embedded in process. And perhaps the most inspiring aspect of all, this isn't a rigid, one-size-fits-all system imported from abroad. It's adaptable. Rural roads get lightweight versions of the software that sync via mobile networks. High-traffic corridors like Burkina run on real-time satellite uplinks. The infrastructure adapts to the terrain, not the other way around. But this revolution isn't just about efficiency. It's also about fairness. The architects of this system asked a critical question most governments skip. Who gets left behind? It would have been easy to design a slick, futuristic network that worked well for commercial trucks and middle-class commuters, while burdening rural transporters, motorcycle users, and humanitarian convoys. But Burkina Faso took a different path, one rooted in justice. Motorcycles, the lifeline of millions in Burkina Faso, are completely toll-exempt. No paperwork, no negotiation, just recognition of reality. The system identifies motorcycles and opens the gate without triggering a fee. The same goes for registered humanitarian vehicles, ambulances, and agricultural convoys. Their exemption is baked into the database, digitally enforced and immune to bribery. And for low-income transporters operating informal taxi routes between villages and cities, they're not forgotten either. Through a new mobility access tiering program, registered drivers in this category get monthly toll credits via mobile money. This isn't charity, it's smart infrastructure. If you help keep the economy running, the system helps you in return. These policies reflect something rare in global infrastructure: inclusion by design. And that inclusiveness goes beyond the road. Behind the sensors, code, and gates are young Burkinabe technicians, trained locally, employed nationally, and empowered to maintain the system. This isn't a foreign-run project. It's being managed on Burkinabe soil by people who know the roads, the communities, and the stakes. In a country where youth unemployment has long been a crisis, the toll system has quietly created a new kind of opportunity: skilled jobs tied to national development. So who owns this system? Not just the government, not just the drivers, but the people. A machine can collect tolls, can even detect fraud, but it can't determine justice. That burden lies with the designers, the policymakers, and they seem to understand the responsibility. But even as the system brings in more money, improves roads, and restores trust, it also introduces something new, something more powerful than cash: data. Every time a vehicle crosses a toll gate, the system logs where it came from, when it passed, how fast it was going, and whether it paid. Over time, this builds a vast database of national movement. It reveals trade routes, migration trends, smuggling patterns, and even hints of regional unrest, long before such signs hit the news. This is no longer just infrastructure, it's intelligence. And that's where the praise must turn into questions. Who controls the controller? Because the same data that now helps track trucks could one day track dissidents. The same system that prevents fraud could one day prevent protest. With every added layer of visibility comes the risk of surveillance. It's a thin line between security and control. A system built to fix roads might one day be used to monitor lives. To be clear, there's no evidence of abuse. So far, the system is a model of transparency. But history warns us that technology, no matter how noble its birth, can be corrupted. The key is accountability. Who audits the system? Is there a grievance process? What protections exist if the system makes a mistake? And what happens if power shifts into the wrong hands? These are the questions being quietly raised by civil society groups, not because they oppose the tech, but because they understand its power. Yet, for now, the story is one of hope. Burkina Faso has achieved what few believed possible. It has built a modern tolling system without foreign dependency, without debt traps, and without compromising its values. And neighboring countries are taking notice. Delegations from Togo, Ghana, Niger, and Benin have visited Burkina and Ouagadougou, not just to see how the machines work, but to understand the philosophy behind them. This is more than a road upgrade. It's a blueprint. Imagine a West Africa where every country builds its own version of this system, where roads aren't just asphalt but arteries of digital coordination, streamlining trade, improving security, and building trust. This is the future African integration deserves. And perhaps the biggest transformation isn't in revenue or regulation, but in trust. Citizens now see gates that don't demand bribes, don't delay them, and don't discriminate. And that trust creates a cycle. Trust leads to compliance, compliance increases revenue, and revenue fuels sovereignty. With sovereignty comes the ultimate prize: dignity. A dignity that lets a nation say no to exploitative contracts, yes to its own priorities, and yes to a future shaped on its own terms. This digital toll system may seem like a simple upgrade, but in truth, it's a revolution in disguise. It's not just moving vehicles. It's moving a nation. So, the next time a gate lifts in Burkina Faso, know that it's not just letting traffic through, it's letting the future in.